And the other thing is processes and procedures. Every district's a little bit different. So make sure that the students, you and the students know usernames, passwords. That can be an issue sometimes. So I always have the kids log in front of me so that I know that they can access the information and there's no issues with passwords and rosters. I have a little dog in the background, so if you hear Ruby barking, I apologize. She's very aware of the wind and any visitors we might have up our driveway. There she goes, right on cue. Rosters. In Hamburg, we actually have two wonderful aides in our computer labs that will actually create rosters on Google Classroom for us. And they're phenomenal. But I also like to know that the students can access their own and join their own classes. So there's different ways for the students to actually join Google Classroom that you've created, and I'll show you both of those methods later today. And obviously, when we're excited about this new process, the Chromebook carts and the laptops and the iPads, they all have to be reserved. So obviously, planning ahead of time is going to be helpful for you to reserve those resources for your students. So if you start doing some of this in your classroom, the technology needs to be considered, and make sure you have access to those cards. Are there any questions so far before I move into the next stage here?
Nope, nothing so far.
And again, whatever works for me, it doesn't always necessarily work for everybody. So I hope that you can take some of these ideas and we'll share with you and modify and adapt as we go along. Google Drive, I told you, is a file storage and synchronization created by Google. It allows you to store files in the cloud, share files, and even edit documents, spreadsheets, and presentations with collaborators. So right now I'm going to minimize this slideshow and get into my drive at Canisius College. So I want to show you what it looks like. And I'm going to very quickly demonstrate to you the layout, what you can do with it. And right now I only have one folder, which actually is this presentation, and I have some materials I'm going to share with you a little bit later. When you go to My Drive, I don't know if you have access now to My Drive, and it's very hard to do this without actually having a computer in front of you or a Chromebook, but very quickly I'll show you what's going on. When you hit New, you can actually now upload or create new folders. Okay, so if you click on Folder here, I can just title it Example, and within that folder then I can place any materials that I need to. I can right-click, I can share this folder, so whatever's inside the folder, I can share it with somebody, and then it gives me an opportunity to enter the person's email address. And then I can actually create the rights to the individual to either edit it and change it or to actually just view it. So that's very, very important. I can also share the link. So the shareable link is here. And this is the link that would actually send to an email or that would be sent to the person. Okay. You can also even change, the location, change the color. So once you make it red, for example. And again, for me, it's brain-based learning, and when I have different colors like that, it actually helps me remember what's going on, organizing things. I can even download whatever's in the folder. So if someone shares a folder with me, I can access my files on my drive. I can actually download my computer. That's very, very helpful because, as we all know, technology doesn't always work, and sometimes the internet connection to Google Drive does not always happen with the Wi-Fi in your district. So I always recommend downloading it as soon as you get to school in the morning so that you actually have access to the PowerPoint presentations or whatever you're using in that day in the classroom so that you don't have to rely on the internet throughout the entire day because things can happen. You can also remove items as well. So that's basically how to create a new folder. You can also create essentially materials to work with your students. Google Docs, very quickly, is a Word document. Very similar in structure, and the icons up here are very straightforward. We've got the print icon over here. We've got zooming in if you want to see the whole page or just part of it. We have different fonts with different sizes. We've got bold, italics, underline. You can actually add a link to certain words. You can add comments, which is very, very important for when peers edit. So when students actually send and share their essays, for example, or their poetry, even the blog or whatever article that you're doing in the classroom, you can actually send it to another student. You can teach them how to do comments and be productive. positive and professional with their responses. Actually add comments there, which is just a button over here as well. When you hit on the word comments, you also can see the different comments that have been added to a specific document. So I'll know how Johnny recommended, to Susie how to improve her essay, for example, if we go down that road in your classroom and peer edit. Then you have left, center, right, justify. There's not as many bells and whistles in Docs as there are in Microsoft Word, but the basic functionality is very similar. You can actually create tables as well, and not having as many bells and whistles actually is a benefit, because now the students, when they get to Google Docs, they don't actually have much opportunity for distractions. So if you actually just lay out for them, the font size, the color, and narrow down the focus so they can actually concentrate on their learning rather than, the extras, it's actually a good thing. One thing that I can show you up here is how you can label a document. Just click on a new document, and that's how you label it, and it's there for you too. The add-ons are very, very important, and we can actually spend a whole hour on different add-ons. But these are actually programs that people have designed for Google and Google Docs, and every program from Google Apps in the Drive has certain add-ons, and one of those I'll show you a little later today called Flubaroo, which uses with forms and spreadsheets. All right? So here, if you click on any Google search and select on top add-ons for Google Docs, you can actually come up with some really good ones. EasyBib obviously creates bibliographies. You just type in the word free here, and then it will be added to it. GMath, if you're doing Word documents with mathematics, it's here. Avery label makers. So when first day of school, for example, I don't have labels, but it creates a table so that I can actually put students' names in there, so that I can actually cut them out on paper and put it on the kids' desks. So instead of doing 2x5 cards, for example, which is a lot of work, the label maker actually connects with a spreadsheet where you have student names. It's just fantastic. Lucid Chart actually creates different mind maps, which is very fantastic. I've used Kaizena before when the kids actually peer edit their essays, and just click on one of these and it just loads in. So the source obviously is free. Click on the word free there, and there's so many more that you can use, and they're all fantastic. Just be careful. Obviously, I would focus on things that are going to help you with your students. Okay. And then with the source, you can find synonyms for selected words, and it's very, very helpful. Okay. Are there any questions about Docs? Open clip art is on here too. So when you and translate, it's just a few examples, and you can scroll on here or even search for add-ons that you know. And Google has fantastic resources. Rhyme Finder, Hello Facts, if you want to do that. Bible verses if you're in private school. And some of these are actually more beneficial than others, so I would definitely recommend doing a Google search on the apps and see which ones is highly recommended for teachers or for education and your needs. Okay. So there's a new doc I just created, and that's there for you. If I want to put this into my example folder, I just click on it and drag it up. Okay. And then it just says OK. And if I shared the example folder with someone else, now they will have access to the Google document. Okay. I'm going to go to new here. I'll show you this Google Spreadsheets. This is very, very important for an Excel type worksheet. And again, you've got very similar formulas as Excel. So this is an example now. And this is going to be very, very important. The add-ons here that we're going to look for is Flubaroo. So we're going to make sure we actually do Flubaroo in your add-ons. Another one that's very, very important. Okay, so just click on that. The other one that I use for add-ons here with the sheets is Doctopus. And again, this one takes a little bit of effort, but once you get the hang of using Octopus, it's really special. It allows the students to submit an essay, and then the teachers with Octopus will take that Word document in the essay or the poem that they've actually written, and it will assign actually a rubric to it. And you can actually see the rubric on the student's worksheet as you're grading it, and you can assign point values based on your rubric in the student's work. You can even record your voice to say, hey, you did a great job with the essay, the introduction was well done, but they used too many I's, for example, or contractions were present, or you didn't add too many details, and the conclusion was fantastic, and you send it to the kids, and you can actually hear your voice, which is amazing. You can also type in comments as well, and that's another webinar that we can do on Octopus if you'd like to learn that as well. The Flubaroo is going to be the one we use today with the forms and the spreadsheets. Okay. And again, you can actually add comments in here. You can share the sheet with someone else. And again, the similar functionality as Excel, putting formulas and that kind of thing. So I'll put this on the example over here. And I don't usually use Excel too much in the classroom with my students. I usually use it for myself as far as grading and collecting data from the forms that we'll create together today, and also with Octopus and the essays that they write. This is actually Google's version of slideshow. So this is an example here. Can't spell, right? And again, it's very similar to PowerPoint, but it's not as powerful. We have some examples of themes. We have, you can actually download it as a different type of file, like PowerPoint, for example. So if you have a PowerPoint presentation or a slide presentation, you can actually download it as a PowerPoint, which is very unique. Most technology companies are very proprietary, and this one actually allows you to save it in the competitor's format, which is very interesting. You can see some of the functionality, and the comments and the icons are very, very similar to that. And one way I can actually use Google Slideshow is that I have 5 7th grade classes, and later in the springtime I'll be video conferencing with a friend of mine in Saratoga, New York. My former student teacher actually was hired there, and we're going to teach his classes Abolitionism in the Underground Railroad as local history. So I've actually created a 1 slide template for each class period, and each slide has the name of an abolitionist leader or a fugitive slave, and the students then will access the same slideshow during that period, and then actually edit their own and create their own slide based on their person. And then when the video conference happens, I will bring up the slideshow, and the students will then teach the story of the people that they researched, but there'll only be essentially 1 slideshow. So instead of actually having the kids, create 1 slideshow on their own, and then logging in and logging out and going through the process of trying to access all the information or putting it on a shared folder, they now have access to the same slideshow. They design their own slide within that presentation, and then it's much easier for them to be successful in the video conference using Google Hangouts, which is amazing. On the back end, because I offer them the template, I can see exactly where the students are using their usernames and passwords the district's created, and identify what slide they're on. So if they're messing around with other students' work, then I can tell on the back end. And I'm going to even show them in the springtime my viewpoint, so that they know that they have to stay focused on their work, which is fantastic. So that's an example of the slideshow. So 1 per period, and then the kids actually then create their own slide within the program, which is great. Google, I'm going to skip forms for just a second because I want to get back to that. Google Drawings is simply just like a paint program. And again, I'm going to use this late in the springtime. The kids will actually draw a cosmogram. They'll actually design a spiritual with a poet in residence that I've hired through a grant. And then a cosmogram is a visual representation of that journey they've gone through. So I teach early American history from Native American culture up to Reconstruction. And the slavery unit obviously deals with preserving their humanity through spirituals. My students will create their own spiritual cosmogram using Google Documents and the drawing application. So I'll send them a template and they'll have to draw it on their own, which is fantastic. Forms, we'll go over this in more detail a little bit later, but forms actually allow you to create questions for the students, and you can actually have different types of questions that can be used for quizzes, for tests, or any kind of summative assessment. And a couple things with forms I want you to be aware of. This is what we're going to get into in much more detail later, but these checkboxes up here are very, very important. You want to collect all the recipients' usernames and passwords. You want to allow the students to see the progress at the bottom of the form page so that they know how far they've gotten in the test. So if it's 20 minutes left in the period, it should be halfway done. And there should be some kind of indicator at the bottom of the screen saying that they're halfway done, which makes them feel a little safer. And only one response per question. We also have a shuffle question order. Now, I don't usually do this shuffle question order, but you could. If you're worried that the students actually will be looking over other people's shoulders, you can actually shift the question order if you want. I don't do that because I want to keep the questions in historical chronological order with the notes. Right? So you can actually do that if you want to as well. Question title. Okay, untitled forms are here. So this is going to be passed on. Okay. Description of the form is going to be, the test is going to be and the title of the question is going to be right here. So question number 1. If you already have a Word document, it's very easy to copy and paste what you've already done. So a transition from what you've already have to this new possibility is very, very easy. I usually put down some kind of helpful hint that what section of Native American culture we're talking about, and then these are different question types we have here. A text question is going to be mostly like a fill in the blank or a word bank. Paragraph tests allow the students to actually create more sentences, a longer answer. Multiple choice are right here. So option 1, same. Okay. So it's very simple. You can actually get rid of these answers if you want to. Advanced settings is really interesting. Now you can actually shuffle the question order. So if the students are looking over their shoulders, the question numbers will be in order for everyone else, but the actual ABC choices here will be shuffled. And I always make a question so that the students cannot submit their test without making sure they have all the required questions done. All right? And actually, the first question I always ask them to do is, I can actually take a question here. I made a mistake, so question number 1 is not really question number 1 anymore. So you just grab the question here and move it up. Very easy to reorder it. And I usually put down first name, last name. Okay. And this is not multiple choice anymore. It can be text. So I got the first name down. I've got this required question. I have the format that I like, so now I can actually copy the question, duplicate it. Instead of doing first name, just do last name. Okay, that's the text one again. I hit done. So it's very easy to do this. And when you like a question, for example, you can actually copy this. Once you get the form down of the actual question, I can just do question number 2. So it's very easy then to continue to work, copy and paste from Microsoft Word. When you have the question format already, just hit copy to duplicate right here, and you'll be ready to go. Okay. These forms are fantastic. You can change the theme if you want to very, very quickly. You can customize it. You can actually add an image for the header, and I'll talk about this in a little bit. That the Google Classroom, for example, Native American image that I have for the classroom itself in Google I actually put the same picture as the test. So the kids make that brain-based learning connection. You actually change the title and make it bigger or smaller. The question sizes can also be bigger or smaller, so the kids can actually see it. The help text, you can make that, different color if you want to, so the kids can see that. And it's very, very, very easy to create these forms, especially if you've got Microsoft Word documents already. Just copy and paste it, and tips and tricks will help you out. And here's the actual the progress bar, which you made it. If you want to see the live form, okay, and it'll show you exactly what you just created and what the students are going to see. And the submit button is very, very important. What's the other thing unique about the form too, and I'll show you this. No, actually, forms allow you to. That's what I created for the Underground Railroad research site that I've gone through. With the test, the students actually will be able to see the entire page. So it's different in Quizlet or Infused Learning, which is now defunct, or Socrative, where you only have one question at a time. The students will be able to see all the different questions as long as they scroll down the page. Okay, so they can use that strategy of helping them out with the different questions using other questions. The forms can also create pages. Okay, and this is where it gets confusing for the kids sometimes. With the multiple choice questions, you can actually have the kids then go to the next page or go to page number 2 or page number 6, whatever it is. So it's great for a survey. So for example, if you say, do you like using the Chromebooks to take the tests? If the answer is yes, then go to page number 1, or page number 2, sorry. Then if it says no, then please go to page number 3. So you can actually then focus the survey on what the students' interests are. I would not recommend doing different pages for the tests because there's no reason for you to move from one page to another. It gets confusing for the kids. There's different buttons down here as far as continue versus submit, and it gets very, very confusing. I made that mistake my first test that I had a second page or a third page to help the kids with a survey I was doing, and it didn't work out. So now I'm convinced that only one page is good for a test. But for this Underground Railroad site problem, this is actually the notes page that I'm going to be using for the kids. And I'm not going to shuffle the question order, and I'm not going to show the progress bar because this is just the notes page. The kids will have their name, the period number, and the person they're researching. And because I have different categories of people, that then will require certain questions. So a fugitive slave running to freedom is going to have different research information than abolitionists who wanted to end slavery. And whatever the students choose here, that will affect the notes and the questions that I expect from them. So view the live form, for example. So here's the live form. This is all they see. All right. The form itself is multiple pages long with multiple questions. This one here, the live form, the kids will only see this. So I'll type in my name here. Okay, the period number is going to be period 1. So now if I'm typing here at the bottom, I'm going to hit this one and then continue, and then it'll jump right to that screen. Okay. If I go to the fugitive slave running to freedom and continue, then I have different questions for that person, that individual, those characters with history. Make sense? And the students then will use this research then to design their PowerPoint presentation to share with the video conference with the students in Georgia. So it all works seamlessly. So again, the forms not only can just be a test, like a one-page test with multiple choice, fill in the blank question or text questions, but it can also be notes pages too, and they can be very specific with the topic that you're interested in teaching the kids and what they want to research. Have any questions so far?
Nope.
Okay.
We're good.
Okay, good. All right, I'm going to get back to the slideshow now. So that's basically Google Drive, and it allows you to create documents, spreadsheets, slideshows, and forms. Okay. Google Classroom. I've got some screenshots here to help you with Google Classroom. It's a learning platform. It's very similar to Edmodo and Schoology. Other platforms out there. Desire to Learn is another one where you can actually offer students a way to communicate with you. I post my tests. I actually offer homework assignments. I even post teacher materials in the Google Classroom. So here's what it looks like. If you go to Google Classroom, and obviously we're in the video conference right now. If we were together in the computer lab, I can show you how to do this. But welcome to Google Classroom is the home screen. Click on the plus sign, and that'll actually help you create your own first classroom. So just type in a Google search for the Google Classroom, and the district actually has to create this for you. If you have your own personal Gmail account, you're not able to actually go to Classrooms. It's reserved only for teachers, which is great because I can post things on here knowing that only students have access to it. And even though I don't have certain images copyrighted, I can still use them for educational purposes, which keeps me out of jail, which is a good thing. So the teacher, as a seventh grade social studies teacher, I actually have the opportunity to teach early American history from Native American culture up through Reconstruction. I have 125 7th grade students that move through the same English, social studies, math, and science teacher on our teams. And what I've done with Google Classroom is something that I find very, very helpful. I use it in two different ways. I have one classroom for every period. So periods 1 through 5 are there for the kids to actually use, and they will actually log in to their regular class period. So within period 2, for example, if I have only 25 students there, I'll have 25 students in period 2. If I have 18 students in period 4, those 18 kids will only be in period 4. So that's what I'm looking for there. The other A through O, calendar and class guide up through Reconstruction, that's more of a Dropbox. In other words, that's the curriculum unit lettered A through O, and that allows me to communicate my teacher notes and tests and presentations with the students. And I'll give those 120 students access to each classroom as we move through the school year. So right now, the kids have access to calendar, class guide, U.S. and New York maps, culture, Native Americans, explorers and colonies, English colonies was a test yesterday. So now the kids just joined Independence and we're moving through the school year, and each curriculum unit will be accessed as we move through the school year. At the end of the year, they'll have access to all of the curriculum resources and help them study for the final exam. One thing that worked for me is that I actually labeled these with letters. If you label them with numbers, when you get to number 10, that will actually go between 1 and 2. So the numbers don't actually work. So I would suggest you go with letters. What the students see. So my computer lab aides actually created a few students, George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, and created a way for me to experiment with my student teacher to make sure. Oh, yeah, that's my guard dog. That's my guard dog. So with George Washington and Abraham Lincoln, we created a fake period class as well. So using the forms and using Doctopus, my student teacher and I actually were able to pretend to be students to see their point of view. That's where these are coming from. So it might be a good idea to actually think about that. And as you prepare to integrate Google technology, that look at it from a student perspective. Try to create a fake student so that you actually see what they see, so you can kind of anticipate problems and try to prevent fires rather than putting them out. So here's Native Americans, letter D. Here, this is the actual picture that I have. This is George Catlin's portraits of Native Americans, and I actually put this picture on top of the header for the test for Native American culture as well, so the kids get that connection. It's hard to see this, but you can see the word announcement here. So Google allows you in the plus form down here to create an assignment or an announcement. And with an announcement, I actually attached, this is letter J here, the test on culture Native Americans, the PDF form. So I took my original Word documents I would send to the print shop every year, And I did a file save as, and I changed the format to PDF so the students can't change the document. And now they have access to the actual test. Below this announcement right here, I put the test up here first so the students know exactly where it is. It doesn't get lost in the list down here. But down below, we have all the different materials that I give the students to prepare for this assessment. So here's the geography worksheet. This is Sacred Rack. We actually learn about ethnocentrism, and rack is actually the word car spelled backwards, so the kids actually learn that we keep the open mind. Even though they don't agree with what's going on in the culture, they'll tell them they're wrong. So I go over that ethnocentrism. And then we have different videos down here. So the PowerPoint presentations that I have already designed last year and I've used for the last years of my career, I've now created videos. Screencastify is one phenomenal Google add-on that you can actually record within the screen. So I actually have videos now, the PowerPoint presentations going through, and I'm reading the notes, I'm offering the images, and the students have access to those review forms. And the last one down here, this is the actual notes the students actually take in class. It's typed, it's colored, and it's easily accessible for the kids. So all this material down here helps the students prepare for their test. And what I do for test review is I actually ask the kids to go to their classroom, which is Native American culture. And then we actually open up the test itself, and my students for 40 minutes will actually look at the test on the screen, and then their notes that are handwritten, and then they'll circle and star and highlight where the notes are that are important for the test and test preparation. My students do really well. Okay. And that's one aspect of Google Classroom. And if you look at George Washington now, notice that Google, for some reason, does not have any particular order for the curriculum units. From calendar and class guide up through Native Americans, there's no order. So I always remind my students that when you're studying for the final exam, make sure you know which curriculum unit you're actually going through. All right. Period classes, now this is only going to be for 18 to 25 students that are actually in that period, so period 1. And I usually choose a different color header up here, one for each classroom, and I'll show you that in a second, how Google Classroom is very easy to set up a new classroom, and you can choose a different header, different colors. This is a test for Native American culture, so the students actually will see this in their classroom. They click on the word open, or the Google form, and they'll see this. This is what it's the actual test itself. So it announces to the students that their username and password, I'm sorry, not the password, just the username will be actually recorded. And then I still make them type their first name and last name. Those little stars there make sure that they actually are required questions. Period number is a drop-down box, which is easy to do. And then I have an actual image that I created to the Microsoft Word document that I actually uploaded into the Google form. They don't have an opportunity for us to create a table, but if you have tables already created in Microsoft Word, you can actually create a screenshot and do a print screen and upload the picture there with the directions. And then you have fill in the blanks. Culture is a total way of life, okay? And make sure the kids actually spell it correctly, otherwise they don't earn full credit. And the last page of the test, I want to show you the multiple choice questions. There's no numbers here, because if you choose to reorder the questions, that's why they don't have numbers there. And then ABC, obviously they don't have ABC, but you can still pick and choose which 3 you want, and this will be different for every student because I chose to shuffle the question order. I usually, in social studies, offer them current events question at extra credit to make sure that they are up on the news, and it's something we talk about the next day in class because you know, an overview of what's going on in the world, and also give them a riddle. And then they hit submit when they're all done. Here's a project report down there, 100% they made it. Okay?
Hey,
any questions?
We do have one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Vanessa, she writes, did you just say that the students have access to the test at the beginning of the unit, make their notes with what is on the test, then take the same test? Yes,
exactly. The exact same test, the exact same questions, in the same order. But again, I don't give them, they have to find their own answers. And to be honest with you, I know that some teachers are resistant to do that, but many of the teachers that I know offer review packets. A math teacher, for example, just simply changes the numbers or the names in the word problems. The science teacher uses the review packet questions to actually create their test. So for me, it's just more open. It's like, here's the test. If you study for the test, then you're going to do well. And the skill of deciding to do well, to take the notes out, to identify the correct answers in your notes, and then finally do well on the test, that's actually, for me, more important than actually a good score on a test. Because that's teaching life skills that are very, very important as we move through. Not just 7th grade, but also in the high school and college, and even your career as well. So take advantage of opportunities that are presented to you, do well, and if they are studying and still are getting the scores they needed, then we need to help them study a little bit in different ways. So it's very, very important for me to have the students be allowed to choose to be successful and to see how they can measure the success and have control over those numbers and averages. And I even offer the kids open notes. 5 minutes at the end of the period, they can actually use the work they've done at home to help them with some of the questions. I can't finish the entire test. They realize that. But a lot of students actually will do much better knowing that they can actually use what they've done at home. And it's worked out very, very well. And some teachers don't agree with that, and I understand that. But we don't teach for the test. We teach for life. And the skills that I'm hoping for goes beyond just 100% on the test. Does that make sense?
Yeah, great. That was a great answer.
Okay. Any more questions?
Looks like we don't really have any at this time.
All right. Well,
wait a minute.
Let me go through now yeah, well, I've got a lot of time. Hang on, I got some more time here. So
Great.
Here's the actual. I'm sorry, what?
Oh, I was just saying, great.
Okay. So here's a Native American test. I actually shared it with myself, actually, from my Hamburg account to the Canisius College account. And that's one thing that you have to understand, too, is that if you're in different careers or professions or even personal life, you need to be able to manage your own Google accounts and passwords and where did I put this file that I need? Is it my personal one? Is it my school one? So just make sure another caveat that you got to kind of manage yourself. And I always have a backup plan off of the internet on my regular hard drive. So always be aware of that as well. Okay. So here's the actual form itself. And you can see that first name, last name, period number, email address is very, very important for us. And Flubaroo will actually grade the test itself, plus it also send these scores to whatever email address that the kids will put in here. Now, our district in Hamburg has not moved into Google accounts yet for Gmail and email communication. So that's why I put that in there so either the school, the personal, or the parent email address can be used to communicate the test scores beyond just eSchool data and parent portal, which most districts actually use. Okay, and here's the actual questions itself, so you can see what it looks like. It's the back end of it. Okay, and extra credit. And I even do a little survey in the first test. This is where I changed the format to only do one page. So this is essentially, do you like using Google Classrooms? And the checkbox down here is very important. A lot of you responded, edit responses after submitting. So make sure you check that. And eventually you can actually then stop accepting responses and shut it down. But when the kids are actually doing test corrections, for example, they can submit this back to you once they correct their answers for extra points if you want to do that in mastery learning. So it's really important that you actually allow them to respond after they submit it. Okay. And let's see. If you live form, you can see then that the image now is up there. I chose the color brown because it's very similar to, match the theme. And we have the letters obviously much larger than the actual form itself, so the kids can see this. Okay. And that's basically the test. Now, what we do is, when you create a new form, Google will automatically create a spreadsheet. And the spreadsheet will collect all of the answers for the students work. So I deleted all the first and last names of my students here, but this is the results of their test that I received from them. And it gives a timestamp of when they took the test. I took my answer key. You have to take it. I'm sorry, let's go back up here. You need to take the test as well. So you have to take the actual form and go through it and make sure you actually have the answer key available. That's what this is right here in row 2. I did that a week before the kids actually did that. My student teacher checked my work, which is always a good thing. What's interesting about forms in Flubaroo is that you can actually create multiple answers. So this percentage or, like the 4 aspects of culture are geography, economics, politics, and society, but it can be in different order. So G, H, I, and J, as long as they have those 4 answers in any order, Flubaroo will actually allow you to score multiple answers, as long as you do percentage or. All right? And then once you go to Addons, the Flubaroo, it grades the assignment. Okay. I'll just do it for you real quick. This is how easy it is for you to grade a 40 multiple choice question for 120 students. It's going to replace my existing grades. Okay. It has different types of questions here. So it will not grade first name because it knows it identifies a student. And I was told by the gentleman who designed Flubaroo that a bonus question option will also be available later in November. So that when the kids actually get the question wrong for a bonus question, it won't hurt their score, but if they get it right, then it'll actually help them a lot. So it's different options there for you, okay? And what I do is, you can change the point values, 2 points apiece. Normal grading is down here, so it's really easy to do. And then once you do it one time, it's very easy to remember. The Flubaroo remembers what the actual value is. When we get down to the bottom here, that's just a current events question. And then for there, I can grade by hand so that the kids will actually not lose any points if they get it wrong. Okay. This is a survey question. I can skip grading down here. So there's no answer there for them. All right, continue. This is okay, and which row is the answer key? So I got to pick mine, all right? Then you hit continue again. And it just takes a few minutes to grade your assignment. You're good to go. Now, if we were actually in, face-to-face in a computer lab with Chromebooks, we actually design a form. We can actually share it with each other and send it to, and send it to Flubaroo for it to be graded. I usually create an assignment in Google Classroom with the form attached to it, so I know exactly who is not taking the test yet. But I also, when paper and pencil test, I always wrote the name of the student on the sheet of paper and put it in the period folder, so I remember to grab the kid when he returns from his absence. Now you actually just have to remember to take the attendance roster and just make sure that you keep track of the kids who are absent. That's one caveat that I also want to share with you. So here's a list of all the students and their answers. Everything from left to right is the student submissions. Some of the questions are a little longer. That's why the column is a little wider there. When you go to grades, for example, this has got all the data you could possibly want. Okay, and the period numbers are here. Percentages of the correct answer. Total points are here. And you can actually then look through the test itself, and some of these questions are done poorly. so I only accessed a few of the students, so this is a little skewed. But it highlights the questions that the students did not do well on either. So if you get 50% on a question, then maybe it's me that I got to go back and reteach that concept, or the question isn't right, or the answer key is wrong, or something. And the kids just thought it was a difficult question. But you can see right here that all the point values for every question for each kid is right there. And these are different riddles. And it's just really easy to do. And then from there, I always download the actual spreadsheet. I never work on the original on Google Drive, because if something happens where I have the incorrect formula or I erase a column that I shouldn't have erased, I've always, this is the backup plan. The original stays the same. You download the actual sheet itself, then you open up on your Google desktop, your regular desktop, away from Google, so that you're not attached to the internet at all. And then from there, you can manipulate the data. You can actually, get rid of or hide certain columns. For example, you only want to see the results of the survey. You can actually hide certain slides. Okay, and put things together if you want to in certain ways. And the administrators want to see, the item analysis. You can just create, copy and paste this row if you want to do that, or get the average of those scores. So if you want to manipulate the data, don't do it, please, on the original form on Google. Download it first, and then make any changes you want to afterwards. I made that mistake, and I lost some information. I just had to go back and Flubaroo and regrade it, but this is one more step that I learned and I can share with you. All right. This has been an absolutely amazing experience, and some of the feedback I got from the students was very interesting. A lot of the kids like the new technology. Some didn't. A few of them just said they prefer paper and pencil because it's they just prefer working in the normal routine. I recommend that if you're using Chromebooks or even laptops, I would recommend using a mouse. The students prefer using the mice. One for each student, because it's easier to roll up and down the screen. The trackpads sometimes are not always helpful or responsive. It can be very frustrating for the kids. And one very interesting comment that one of the students made, which I didn't think of, is that because this is done digitally, the students receive their scores secretly. No one else knows their scores but them. So when they submit their email address, okay, the score goes right to their email address, and it's not the awkward situation of what'd you get in the test in the middle of the classroom. And I don't have to waste time hanging the papers back to the students either. And you can see here that Flubaroo actually has an X where if the actual student has been sent their grades. Okay. So it eliminates any of the social awkwardness of, what'd you get in your test? I don't want to tell my friend that I didn't do well, or I did really well and she didn't do well, or he didn't do well. And so that's one advantage that I didn't think of that seventh graders actually offered me. And it was great to see that level of insightfulness, because I didn't think about that. But that's one thing that I really enjoy, is seeing their success. And that's, if the bullying and if the comparisons are not happening in the classroom, that's one more step toward a more successful learning environment. The other caveat too is that if the students are absent and you only have the Chromebook card for that one day during the test, then you got to find another opportunity for the students to get a computer the next day when they return to take the test. It's not just here's a piece of paper and take the test in the hallway or in the library. You've got to just be aware as a teacher that to make sure that technology is accessible to kids who are coming back from an absence. And our district is very, very supportive of this. We've got Chromebooks in the library permanently, and our computer lab, even though it's reserved, some teachers actually will allow one or two students, if there's room, to go into the computer lab and actually take their tests and work on the projects. So this is some things that I learned that I can share with you. Are there any questions about anything?
Yeah, looks like we got a couple here. First one from Carrie. Do you feel Google Classroom is practical to use if you don't have daily access to laptops or Chromebooks?
I don't actually. I don't have a one-on-one situation. Actually, I have to reserve. There's 3 cards in our middle school, and because I project from September to June, I have different opportunities for snow days, yay, and other opportunities for other events. But I need to create a calendar so that my students do have access to the Chromebooks. So it's not one-on-one situation. It's not paperless. it's less paper, but it's not totally paperless when it's one-on-one situation. So it can be done. It just takes a little bit of planning, and you got to project out your lesson plans to make sure the carts are reserved for your kids.
Great.
Okay.
And the last question we have is, does the autofill setting affect the form at all when the next class takes the test at the same PC?
No, what happens is that every student gets their own test form. And then, as you can see here, student submissions, the form collects the data on one spreadsheet. So I've got period 2 here. Oh, this is going too fast. Then I got period. That's why I need a mouse. I don't have a mouse with me. See the data is tracking. So I apologize for that. Here's period 4. Okay, period 8. So in other words, it doesn't matter if the Chromebook is the same from one period to another. As long as the students sign out and then the new student logs back in, we will get an accurate time and period number that the students are submitting it. So each one of these rows here is a unique student submission, even though it's the same test form that I sent them to the classroom. Does that make sense? Are you still there, Brian?
Yep, it looks like, yeah, that she said that took care of her question, so great.
Okay. And again, sometimes I go through the test itself, I just noticed the word politics right here. So it's spelled incorrectly, we marked wrong from Flubaroo. So I got to go back always and check the spelling instead of taking 2 points off. It's just 1 point off that you can make a judgment on. Another word down here is politics. But so just it's another caveat that you got to make sure the spelling is correct with these as well. Or even just move strictly to multiple choice format. Oh, the other thing too for the test itself, you can actually create questions that are check boxes. So just choose 3 examples of geography from the list below the question. So the kids actually will pick, 3 of these and submit it. So it's another opportunity for you to do check boxes or drop-down boxes or multiple choice. It's a different question format. I will send Brian this cheat sheet that I made. It's a tutorial. And then I asked Brian if he could send it to everyone. This is what I've done, and I would recommend that if you do move forward with the self-grading tests, look through the sheet, modify it any way you want to, but it's helped me out. And on the bottom of the sheet, I actually have 2 YouTube videos that are very, very helpful and help me get through this. And I just wrote down every step one at a time over the summer, and I shared it with my student teacher in September, and then we actually moved through this process and modified it as we went through it. And having that list with the order of how to create things is very, very helpful. Okay?
Great.
Any more questions?
No, nothing's coming through right now. Is that all you had for today?
Brian, I'll show you how to share. Yeah, I'll show everybody how to share this file. Brian, can we have your email address, please?
Yep. SI.
Okay.
2 B's as in boy.
Okay.
ITT. And then another B as in boy. At canisius.edu.
Okay. Okay. And then from there, Brian, if you just send this to other students.
Sure.
I'm sorry, the other teachers in the 7th. Sorry, I'm in 7th grade teacher mode again. So please share that with the other teachers in the webinar.
Yeah, absolutely. Just got it, so I'll make sure I do that, or Lauren does that tomorrow.
I also wanted to throw this out there that in the summertime at Clarence we have a Google Summit. It was very successful last year. I was inspired to take on Google in the classroom. And if you are interested in doing this, please keep an eye out for the dates in the summertime toward the end of June. And I've asked Canisius to include you on an email list to invite you to the summit, either being a presenter or just as a participant. It was very inspiring for me. It also helped me move into this direction, and I would highly recommend coming to that summer session, the conference. It was just amazing. Some great teachers, great ideas, and a lot of learning going on. So I hope you guys would consider joining me in that conference, okay?
Great, and I'll make sure that they definitely get that information. But other than that, thank you so much, Jason. And everyone that has attended, thank you for attending. Just so you know as well, under the handout section, there is a handout that you can download. It includes the link to register for our next webinar, which is going to be on November 19th. And in additional, there'll be some social media links if you want to connect with any of our EdTech faculty. Everyone will also be receiving certificates of completion for today's event. That'll be sent to your email. Look for that probably tomorrow. And obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to the EdTech faculty via social media, or you can feel free to email us here at Graduate Admissions at gradadm@canisius.edu. Looks like we did just get one more quick question here. If you have a second, Jason.
Absolutely.
Sure. How important do you feel internal support is for teachers? You mentioned you had lab assistants create your classroom folders.
Oh, it's very, very important. On the back end, they can actually import rosters into Google Classrooms. So, but also the other thing too is that they're there to help support us. I mean, if I have a question about here's my idea, that's a lot of trust. That I'm willing to step out on the ledge, and I know that they're going to be there to support me and let me know what's available for the district, the district's ideas, and where they're moving to. So they're a great liaison between the district level and what's going on with my classroom, because they're part of not just the actual technology in importing rosters, but also the direction the district is going into as well. Now, with that said, I know that excuse me, the technicians actually are very busy in the beginning of the school year. So what I found out was that my students actually join the classrooms on their own. In other words, they join period 1 if they're in period 1. They join classroom and class calendar and class guide classrooms on their own, and that worked out really well because when they did that, and I did not rely on the technicians to import the rosters. The students actually then work through their username and password issues. They got the idea of how to join a classroom, so now it's become second nature not only for my classroom but for other teachers as well. So yes, they're extremely helpful, and without their support, I would never be able to do what I'm doing here with 7th graders. I won't be able to step off that ledge. And you know, they've been very, very helpful. They created the students, the fake students, Washington and Lincoln. They've offered some suggestions of what's going on with other teachers, and introduced me to other, like elementary teacher, one of them in our district, and also uses Google very well. So he's been a great resource for me. So technicians are very, very, very important for me as we move to new technology integration.
Okay, great. Other than that, it looks like we don't really have any other questions. Mary just kind of echoed whatever everyone else is thinking, but great answer. Teachers have much to do, and I'm sure support is key. And
Absolutely.
That's kind of the forefront here.
And the other thing, too, I just thought of is that summer curriculum projects are available at Hamburg. And if it's available through your district in some way or another, professional development program, or, you know, this might be an interesting project for you to design, because, again, it's one more way of supporting you. Why reinvent the wheel at your own expense and cost and time? So if you can do it through the district, through your contracts, it could be a great curriculum project for you to do.
Great. All right, well, it looks like we don't really have any more questions here. And of course, if there are any that pop up later on, attendees, feel free to email gradadm@canisius.edu. And again, be on the lookout for those certificates that will be emailed most likely tomorrow. And we'll try and also include a link to this webinar as well, which is being recorded. We'll put that on the website and try and include a link for you guys if you want to view it at a later time or you wish to share it with other people. But other than that, thank you so much, Jason, for taking the time out of your schedule to help us out here with the webinar. And everyone, look forward to the next one which will be November 19th. So feel free to...
Brian, thank you for moderating. Thank you for moderating, and I appreciate all your questions. And if you have anything that beyond this webinar, please let us know through Brian. Okay?
Great. All right. Well, thank you very much. Have a good day, everyone. And thanks again, Jason.
Okay, thank you. Have a great day.